Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win, you find a way to lose. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Now let's jump into it. Listen, man. We know Bud Crawford. If you didn't know, well, now you know. He's the A side. Undisputed at 147. Now, as far as the rematch with Errol Spence, I'm seeing all kind of crap floating around here. Let me tell y'all something. I don't know when the rematch is going to happen. It's supposed to happen before December of this year. Errol Spence, as far as his suspension, because he got damaged, right? Errol Spence is going to be cleared before October. So Errol Spence can definitely get in the ring and fight before the end of this year. Now, the rumors that are floating around, that people are creating, right? Errol Spence isn't allowed to fight by Showtime, isn't allowed to fight by the doctors until 2024, the middle of 2024. Man, let me tell you something. Y'all do your own research. When it comes to this crap, people will lie. But one thing that I'm going to tell you that is, in my opinion, as straightforward as can possibly be, is when we talk about Terence Crawford and Errol Spence happening at 154, I think it will. I definitely do. Because this is the problem. And it's something that's been inescapable for Terence Crawford since he's been a professional, and definitely since he started bubbling up at 140, becoming undisputed and getting up to 147 and doing what he did at 147, right? He just can't escape the doubters and people who don't want to give him credit. Now, let me tell you, a blind man can see, at least when it comes to the eyes of Errol Spence, it just didn't look like it. His eyes didn't look the same as he normally did before going into a fight, okay? But the problem is this. Terence Crawford deserves all the credit, but he's not getting full credit for that. And I think it's unfair to Terence Crawford. However, he deserves all the credit for the win. And I'm telling you, I think stylistically, Crawford will always beat Errol Spence, right? I've always said that. I'm going to keep saying that. So it doesn't matter if Errol Spence had, his eyes looked healthy. He didn't have the bags under his eyes. If Errol Spence came in there and was able to fight rounds 3, 4, 5, and 6 with the kind of energy that he started off in the first round and part of the second round until he got caught, right? He still would have been getting countered. And if it went the distance, he would have lost a landslide decision victory to Terence Crawford. So let's just make sure that we're crystal clear on that. But this is the problem for Terence Crawford, and why I think Terence Crawford will have the fight at 154, because he's like, okay, I'm undisputed now. I predicted you guys weren't going to give me credit for his win. I talked about everything that's happening right now. Terence Crawford talked about it. People give me credit for my predictions and saying, man, you must have a crystal ball. Look, I don't get it right all the time. But what I've learned for me is to, instead of going with the underdog just to go against the grain and be stubborn, I said, let me sit down and be honest about my predictions and make sure it's rooted in some kind of substance. That's why when I've been making predictions lately, normally I can almost get it down to the round. But then again, it's not that, it just happens that way. But when it comes to Crawford and Spence, I am predicting Crawford will have to fight at 154 because he may not say much in interviews right now, although he's doing a lot of interviews, but he's not really talking about how he's not getting credit. He's going to start talking about it here pretty soon. Like, damn, they didn't want to give me credit for beating him at 154. They said that he was weak. They said it was a car accident. They said it was something about a neurological disorder. They're saying that, all kind of crap. And Crawford's going to say, okay, have it at 154 then, right? And he's like, what are they going to say when I beat him then? He's like, there's always going to be an excuse. I'm telling you he's going to have the fight at 154. But this is the thing that people need to understand for the Spence fans, right? Because I like both guys. I'm neutral. But I just think stylistically, Crawford's a problem for Spence. For all the Spence fans who are being blinded because of their loyalty to him, look, when Spence goes up to 154 to fight Crawford, Spence will be stronger. He doesn't have to kill himself to get down to 147. But you know what? Crawford's going to be bigger and stronger too. Crawford's a naturally strong guy. You understand? You guys are acting like, oh yeah, Spence is going to be he's going to be a rhinoceros in there fighting a damn pheasant. That's not the case, man. It's two pit bulls in there going at it. One just happens to be a bit more strategic, a little bit quicker, a little bit more accurate, and a little better IQ than the other one. You understand? And that's what the bottom line is. Understand that 154 is not going to make a difference. And you know, Mayweather gets on and he starts talking from time to time. But I think maybe he knows something, because I would never sit here and try to act like I know more than Mayweather or any of those guys. But if he says he feels Spence should probably be at 160 or 168, maybe it's something he knows. You know what I'm saying? Even Earl Spence has talked, you know, adamantly about he could easily fight at 160, 168. So so it sounds like he's been a weight bully. It's just caught up with him. He can't keep doing it. So 160, 168 is probably where Earl Spence should be. How effective will he be? I don't know. But he'll probably be more comfortable. And as far as effectivity, I don't know. As far as his health, probably be a whole lot better. So we'll see how things play out. But I do think that the rematch will happen. I think it'll happen this year. I don't think it's going to be Spence coming back next year sometime in the middle of the summer. That's stupid. You know what I'm saying? And this is the other thing. For anyone who's saying, no, there's a chance it could happen in the summer of 2024. I'll tell you this, right? If he and Crawford come and have a discussion and they both agree to push the rematch to 2024, then maybe it can happen. But you tell me, how does that make sense? Crawford just came out here, dominated Earl Spence. Earl Spence got banged up pretty good, okay? Look, man, this is when it was July. Now we're August. So you got August, September, October, November. You got 4 months, and then sometime in December, 4.5 months. You tell me that's not enough time for Spence to be ready? Come on, man. Now, unless there's something, you know, with teeth from medical experts who will come out and say, no, with the type of damage that he sustained, it's not in the best interest of us to approve him to go forward with the fight this year. But there's nothing like that floating around except this guy who came out and said, just at least from him and his eyes as a medical professional, Earl Spence looks like he's suffering from some neurological disorder. Okay? But outside of that, there's no other medical physicians or anyone who's come out and said anything about Earl Spence. Nothing. There's nothing. We know that he's, just for safety reasons, man, he got to kind of sit sideline for a few months, but there's no test that I know of that's been ran or anything like that. If that was going on, that would have surfaced. Espinoza didn't come out and say nothing about Earl Spence in 2024. People need to stop spreading this bull crap, man. But what I'll tell you is, nonetheless, when the rematch happens, because Earl Spence wants it, Terence Crawford, it's an inescapable obligation to fulfill the contractual obligation. He has to fight Earl Spence. Crawford is not going to make him come back down to 147. Crawford doesn't want anyone making any excuses for him at all. It's just like him going up. If he was to go up and fight somebody from 168, 175, he's going to sit there and say, you know what? I'm not going to sit here and have these guys bring me all the way up to 175. Let's try to make it as fair as possible. And it just so happens in this instance, Crawford and Spence both could benefit from coming in at 154, because even Crawford struggled to get down to 147. It's not that easy for Crawford to get to 147. It's easier for him than Spence, but it's not that easy for Crawford to get to 147. Some people need to understand that. People out there saying Crawford's going to make him melt down again. Trust me, Crawford doesn't want to do it either. He doesn't want to do it either. I'm telling you, I'm 6 feet tall, man. And back in the day when I used to train and all that, I used to cut down from 205 to 160. And I remember, I talked about this in a video before. That damn coach, I remember my coach, man, he was like, yo, we can get you down to 154. I looked at that man like he was, watch what I'm about to say, but he was crazy. Like, 154, you crazy? And it was even talking about, there's competition and getting an advantage. Talking about trying to get down to 147. Yo, man, I'm 48 years old, right? Look at that shit. You know what I'm saying? Come on now. How the hell am I getting down to 147? It's crazy, man. But I get it. Some of these guys push themselves, man. But when it comes to Crawford, I don't think Crawford should at all be fighting at 147 either. Do it at 154. Crawford will get all the credit because I think he'll stop Spence again. But maybe Spence, maybe he goes a little bit. It's a little more competitive the first couple of rounds, but you don't have a chin. But then again, punch resistance should improve. Stamina should be a little better. Power should be a little better. Balance should be a little bit better. Everything should improve for Spence at 154, but it should all improve for Crawford as well. As a result, they both cancel each other out, and you're just going to have another 147-pound performance. Simple. With that being said, y'all keep cool. Bud Crawford has gone on record. He's doing interviews, and he's saying, look, I'm the A side. I am the A side. It's up to me on what happens. Not Spence. It's up to me. But I know for a fact Crawford has a soft spot in his heart for Spence. Because one thing he says, and this is why I respect Crawford even more, man. He, in almost every interview, thanks Earl Spence and makes sure no one's going to sit here and bad talk Earl Spence and break Earl Spence down, because he knows if it wasn't for Earl Spence, that's why I tell you, I would love to have been part of that conversation. He knows Earl Spence is the one that forced that fight to make sure it happened. He knows that Earl Spence knew getting out of 147 was going to be near impossible for him to do. He also knows that Earl Spence promised fans and promised people, I'm going to give you this fight. And although Earl Spence knew it probably was not in his best interest, Earl Spence did it anyway. And Crawford will come out and make sure that he always thanks Earl Spence. And that's why you can't tell me Crawford won't say, nope, he took care of me, giving me this fight, knowing that 147 was somewhere he shouldn't be. I'm going to give him the rematch, and I'm going to do him a favor now, and I'm going to give it to him at 154. You watch. No way in the world Crawford would do that. No way. Crawford's not built like that. You can't make me believe Crawford is going to sit there and jerk Earl Spence and force him to get back down to 147. No way, especially with the fact people aren't giving him credit for that win. That being said, more to come on Crawford and Spence. This 2024 stuff, people who are spreading that, hold your horses. Stop taking it to the stupid. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents, and the breeze.